Rabbi Shalom Aleichem. So I was learning this morning with my chavrusa, and he had a shaila, and I figured I'm going to ask you because the mamish were a little bothered by it. The Mishnah in Lamed Ches Amar Aleph, Masechtas Yoma, talks about those who are mentioned negatively. Right? The previous Mishnah gave shvach to people who did certain improvements to the Beis Hamikdash. Now we're saying those who did bad. And the mamish is saying Beis Garmu, Beis Avtinos, that says Al Ilu Nemar V'Shem Rishon Yirkov. So the Mishnah Mamish goes hard on them, and then the Mamish right after is the first Gemara. It goes into why they didn't want to teach, and they said that they were afraid that people are going to learn to serve Avodah Zarah with it. And then the Brayso says V'Al Dover Zeh Mazkirin Oisun L'Shvoch. We switched it around to praising them. So my chavrusa, Shmuel, he asked me, how can this be? How can the Tanoim, who were so careful with every single word they ever said, off the bat say them that they're the worst people in the world, V'Shem Rishon Yirkov, and then after some digging into it, all of a sudden, oh no, you know what, they should be recalled with the phrase. There's not much bother. How can this be? And it's written forever in the Mishnah. If somebody didn't learn the Gemara and they just learned the Mishnah, it would be forever that they're recalled negatively. So the Rav has a teretz. Thank you, Rabbi.
Chazaku Baruch on the Sheila. It's a good Sheila. So the main thing you have to know is that when Rabbi Yehuda Nasi put together the Mishnah, he didn't take all of the available teachings. He took what he believed were the main ones. The rest of them remained bereitot, and that, you know, they're still learned, but not in the same capacity. But that meant that the people of that generation, the people of the previous generation, didn't need any of this. They knew all of it orally, where each person would come to the Bet Midrash. They'd say that they learned, and then everybody would go back and forth learning that Mishnah and all of the different things about it, sort of like what you have in the Gemara, but even more expensive, because there were bigger Chachamim in the previous generation. Then at the time of the Mishnah, when he actually put together the Mishnah itself, the people of that generation, when they looked at that Mishnah, they're not like us, where they need commentary to know what's going on. Just from the Mishnah itself, they were able to already get all of the different tirutzim, all of the different gemarot, all of the different chidushim that, you know, we're able to get until this day. And needless to say, the next generation, where, you know, they saw that people are no longer capable of doing that, that's when they started being mefarshim on the actual Mishnah to give you all of the different things that you would consider and have to consider in order to get to know what is the actual bottom line meaning of. So it's not that the Amoraim, you know, discovered the wheel. No, the wheel was already there. It's just that the previous generation didn't need you to clarify it like the later generation did. There's certain Chachamim even got to that level at later generations. Like, for example, story about the Gaon Vilna is that at the end of his days, he would only study two Sfarim, the Tanakh and the Mesilat Yesharim. How could there be just two Sfarim? What about the Mishnah, the Gemara, Shulchan Aruch, Midrash, Zohar, everything else? He already got to a point where every single pasuk, and he would know exactly every single thing that it's connected to, where it's mentioned in the Midrash, where it's mentioned in the Gemara, which halacha comes from it, which sod comes from it, every single thing, just by simply looking at the pasuk. He no longer needed to constantly go back and forth like, you know, the rest of the Chachamim. Learn with certain Chachamim, you know, the bigger Talmidei Chachamim that they are, the more that you'll see that the breadth of their knowledge, where you could, let's say, for example, you know, read the weekly parasha, fulfill the halacha of Shtay Mikra v'Chad Targum. Okay, so Shtay Mikra v'Chad Targum parasha twice, then you have to read the commentary. The commentary of Onkelos is it was the main one, but the Chachamim say also commentary of Rashi is also fulfills the halacha. But either way, it's a that's what you do. So now you're reading a pasuk, and you read, let's say, I don't know, a pasuk from I think it was last week's parasha where Hashem says to Moshe, "Ve'ani Hashem, I am Hashem." So you read the pasuk, okay, Ani Hashem, okay. So a regular person looks, "Ve'ani Hashem, I am Hashem. Thank you very much for letting me know you're Hashem, but I already knew." But then you look at the Rashi and you say, well, Rashi says, Ani Hashem means that everything that I say is reliable. I am the one that gives reward and punishment. And he has a whole thing over there about what Ani Hashem is. But then you start looking at other places. So that means that when Rashi would look at that pasuk, he already knew everything he gave the comment on, because that was part of already his Mussar, that was part of already of his basic knowledge. What we don't have as basic knowledge to him was basic knowledge. But furthermore than that, he would also know the different places that's in the Gemara, because Rashi also gave the commentary in the Gemara. So he would tell you also all of the different places in the Gemara that particular pasuk is connected to, in all the different aspects of the halacha, and so on and so forth. So the Torah itself has always been the same, just that at the time of Mount Sinai, all of Am Yisrael, all they needed, it was just one book. They just needed the Torah, right? From the Torah, they were able to, just simply learning the psukim, they were able to extrapolate every single teaching that we have available today and more. All of the halachot, all of the sod, all of the midrashim, all of the commentary, everything just by simply looking at the pasuk itself. That was the chokhmah that they had. That's why they're called Dora De'ah. Dora De'ah, the generation of knowledge, was not just because they were at Mount Sinai, was because of the spiritual capabilities that they had was superior to anything that we can comprehend. So just by looking at the pasuk, they were able to extrapolate every single one of the millions of books that we have in the world today from our holy Torah. Now, in the later generations, they needed it, to do that with the oral Torah, to put the oral Torah in writing. But again, they only started with a part of it, and then a little more part of it, and a little more part of it. And today, we're still writing more and more books to not rediscover the wheel, but rather to show you the wheel that was always there. It's just that, unfortunately, we forgot about it, and we need to now look at it in black and white in order to know that it's actually there. And the difference now between, let's say, a Talmid Chacham, is, and then let's say a person that's learning, is that the Talmid Chacham that has already been doing it for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, when he looks at the pasuk, he could already tell you the many different places that you'll find this pasuk and how many different places it's connected to, how it's connected to Mesilat Yesharim and Sifrei Chasidut and the Shulchan Aruch, and where it is in the Gemara, and even tell you different places that it's in the Gemara, and he could even tell you the tzura, the image of the page of the Gemara, and actually how the image of the page of the Gemara looks like, and which line it's on, and even which number of word it is. Depending, again, there's the level of the Chachamim, and Baruch Hashem, we have some Chachamim in the world that are just like that, and have merited to meet a few, and it's truly a sight to behold, because it's from the, it's not human knowledge. It's not human, it's not something that the average human being could even think is even possible until you see it firsthand. So Ashrechem v'Ashrech Elkechem, that you're going in the same exact Masoret, the same exact tradition, the same exact ladder, that BeEzrat Hashem will get you to those places. Ashrechem.
Wow. First of all, Amen. Amen. Thank you, Rebbe. So I want to make sure I'm on the right page. I sent the Rav's answer to my Chavrusa just to see if I'm thinking correctly. The Rav is saying that the Tanoim certainly looked at all angles. And at the end of the day, in the base measures, the feeling was that they still didn't really do the right thing. And then later on, the Amoraim reviewed it, and they recalled their name Lishvach. So I'm I'm curious what changed, and is an Amira allowed to argue on a Tana? If the Tanoim wrote in the Mishnah that this is at the end of the day what we came to, this is the conclusion we came to, and they did consider all angles, how come the Amirim, a few hundred years later, wherever it was, flipped the switch and said, no, we're going to recall them Lishvach? I'm thinking maybe just the Chiddush popped into the head, and maybe that the Tanoim didn't see how bad the world went, and so it wasn't a practicality that a Yid would divulge the secret of let's say the Ketairis or the Lechem Aponim. But later the Amoram saw how evil the world became, how people mamish let go of everything. Am I on the right page? I also thought today I was listening to a share of Rabbi Mizrahi, and he mentioned again how the Torah doesn't hide the negative about anybody or anything, and I've heard the Rav say this also. We see by Avram Avinu, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe Rabbeinu, David HaMelech, Shlomo HaMelech, that unlike the other fake religions of the world, they'll never post anything that seems negative about any of their so-called heroes. The Torah doesn't ever hide anything. I thought maybe that's also another reason. Yeah, Bekitzer, thank you, Rebbe. Mamish, thank you. Unbelievable. Thank you, Rebbe.
No, I missed that part. The Tanaim certainly told of what happened at the time. This didn't happen at the time of the Tanaim. This happened at the time of the Beit HaMikdash. So Tanaim are telling you the story where these people were rebuked and gone against initially, but the end result, when people found out the reason of why they did what they did, then people understood it and they accepted it. But the Tanaim didn't spell out the whole story. They just told you this is the story that happened, when these people had these specific jobs of making the lechem apanim, and they had their own way, and they didn't want to disclose to anybody else, and people thought that it was because of money, but they found out that it has nothing to do with money. It's something else. But they didn't spell out all of this. They just simply said, this is what happened. This is what happened, and that was enough for people to know the rest of the story. It's like, for example, when you take notes on a shiur, you don't write every word that I say. You write sometimes 3, 4, 5 words. That's enough to remind you of the entire story. That's, in essence, the equivalent.
Rabbi Shalom Aleichem. So I'm learning now on Samach Vav and Beis Mamish Siyata D'Shmaya. The Gemara is going through a whole bunch of dialogues about shilas that people doesn't say who asked Rabbi Eliezer. Shilas Rabbi Eliezer Ploini Ma'al Lo'olam Abo Omelahem Loish Shiltuni Ela Al Ploini, and like you would think, who are we talking about? Who's this Ploini? And then we have a Garza Bach that's saying they were asking about the Rabbeinu Hananel, about Shlomo HaMelech. And then it says, Ma lahatzi l'roye kivso min ha'ari, Omer lahem loishi iltuni ela al kivso, Ma lahatzi l'roye min ha'ari, Omer lahem loishi altuni ela al roye. We'd ask the shepherd, the lion's attacking, who's he saving, what does this mean? And then it says, we're talking about the lamb over here is Bathsheba. Her husband Uriah is the shepherd, and David HaMelech was the lion. Just if we didn't have commentary, like the Rav is saying, that the Tanoim and the Amorim knew so much more than us, and they saw the whole picture from just a small little wording. And me, when I'm learning this Gemara, and I'm like, what's going on? Or who's the shepherd? Who's this lion? What's that? Ishtabach Shemalat. Just this mamish. The fact that the Rav just answered the Shaila in this way, and the Gemara is showing me exactly how it is unbelievable. Wow. Ishtabach Shemalat. Thank you, Rebbe. Mamish, thank you.
אני מברך את הרבנים, הרב ירון ראובן, הרב אפרים כחלון, ראשי ארגון בעזרת השם, שהלכו בפי עליון, שעלו מעלה מעלה, יהיה להם ברכה והצלחה, הקדוש ברוך הוא ימלא בלשונות ליבם לטובה ולברכה, שבכל אשר יפנו ישכילו ויצליחו. יזכו עוד לעשות כאלה וכאלה. הודיעו תורה לאדירה, אמן ואמן.